War, what is it good for? Well, if you're working in a military-industrial complex, it's not for absolutely nothing. Speaking at last week's Credit Suisse conference, top executives of major arms manufacturers were an inch short of being vocally delighted that the Middle East is currently engulfed in the flames of war. Lockheed Martin Executive Vice President Bruce Tanner told the conference that his company will see indirect benefits from the war in Syria. He also cited the Turkish military's recent decision to shoot down a Russian warplane. The incident, Tanner said, heightens the risk for U.S. military operations in the region, providing an intangible lift because of the dynamics of that environment and our products in the theater. Raytheon Chief Executive Tom Kennedy made similar remarks, telling the conference that he's seeking a significant uptick for defense solutions across the board in multiple countries in the Middle East. It's all the turmoil they have going on, whether the turmoil is in Yemen, whether it's with Houthis, or whether it's occurring in Syria, Iraq with ISIS. All that comes on the back heels of a major treat for the industry. Just before Halloween, the Congress approved the new defense budget, and it's just $5 billion shorter than the Pentagon initially demanded at $607 billion. But where does this taxpayer money actually go to? In part, some of the ongoing military projects have long been designated as pipe dreams, yet companies are still spending on them. These projects have been referred to by some writers as zombie defense projects because of their refusal to die. Let's look at some of those. Now, the first on our list is the F-35 fighter jet, produced by Lockheed Martin. The F-35 is scheduled to replace practically all of the tactical jets in the Air Force. However, software has malfunctioned, jets have caught fire on the runway, and in June 2014, the entire fleet was grounded. Serious structural flaws have caused a flurry of criticism from different analysts, yet it is still on track to become the military's standard warplane. The Pentagon expects to order nearly 2,500 of them in the coming decades at a cost of over $400 million. The next one is M1 Abrams tank. It's a good tank indeed. There's been no criticism. But are so much of those actually needed, especially since conventional warfare is becoming a thing of the past? The Army openly says it does not need more tanks. The Ohio senator, where M1s are built, says we should have more of them. And so a couple of thousand tanks are parked in the desert, and over $500 billion has been spent since 1994 to build these vehicles. In 2014 alone, taxpayers in America forked over almost $200 million for the M1s. Next up is JLANS, 17 years in the making. This system is destined to track cruise missiles, drones, and low-flying airplanes. Defense contractor Raytheon has been building blimps that are supposed to alert us from up high when low-flying threats are on the way. Well, in April this year, such a potential threat actually happened when a low-flying airplane landed on the Capitol lawn in protest against finance reform. JLANS never saw it, on that date was not operational, and generally the system has been inconsistent in tracking objects and plagued with software glitches. The Army actually tried to pull the plug in 2010, but Raytheon lobbyists went to work. Money miraculously was found to continue finding JLANS, and a few weeks ago the final nail in the coffin came for the JLANS when one of the blimps inexplicably broke off its mooring and went floating over Maryland and Pennsylvania. Only then the Pentagon suspended the JLANS program indefinitely. By then, almost $3 billion have been spent on the project. Not all zombies are that expensive. There's cheaper ones. Every year, the Pentagon spends around $17 million to heat its Kaiserslautern base in Germany. Part of that goes towards several thousand tons of coal from Pennsylvania that is shipped to Rotterdam, then loaded on rail cars and moved to Germany. That's because after the Second World War, as the Pennsylvania coal industry was dying, lawmakers decided a little pork might pep the industry up. Congress made the Pentagon use the more expensive anthracite coal to heat its overseas bases. So basically, the base in Germany is required to burn coal from Pennsylvania instead of buying local. The program continues to exist since 1960s, thanks to coal lobbyists, of course, and around $1.5 million is spent on that every year. Last but not least is the missile defense systems in Europe. In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan proposed the controversial Star Wars missile defense system, a futuristic program that would shoot down Soviet ICBMs headed towards the United States. There were $5 billion lasers built into 747s that were going to shoot down missiles. There were the $1.7 billion rocket interceptors that were to be fired from naval ships. There was also a $700 million multiple-kill vehicle, a Gatling gun that would fire small interceptors to destroy ICBMs. Most of those never even made it to the test stage, but so far over $10 billion and counting have been spent on unsuccessfully developing the missile defense system in Europe. Dwight Eisenhower said in 1953, every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and those who are not fed. End of quote. It seems that these words are well and truly forgotten in the multi-billion world of the military-industrial complex. Aleksey Yaroshevsky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.